Welcome to the Flex Rental Solutions webinar. Today we're going to be talking about maintenance on inventory items. We're going to be looking at the basics of recording maintenance on inventory, and we're also going to be looking at maintenance procedures, how you can add new maintenance procedures to your system, and also running a maintenance report for you to reference. So let's just start from the very beginning, and we're going to look at how you can log maintenance onto an inventory unit. And there are a couple ways that you can do this. First, you can just open any inventory unit in your system. And so let's go to our Mackie 450 speakers. And then let's look at the serial numbers, and we'll open just any one of these serial units. So let's pick on 00075. Now, of course, there are several ways that you can open an inventory or serial unit. You can come to the Serial Numbers tab, double-click, and it will bring you to that serial unit information. You could also use your barcode scanner, or you could just hand type that barcode in. So if you're on something like the calendar page, basically any page where you're not adding inventory to a container or scanning things in and out, if you enter a barcode on that page, or if you just scan that barcode with your barcode scanner that's been properly configured to be used with Flex, then that will just open that serial unit in its own tab automatically. So you don't have to go through and browse the inventory tree, go to the Serial Numbers tab. You can just easily scan or type that number in to open the unit information. Once we're here in the serial unit information page, you can see the option to log maintenance over here in the right-hand menu, or what we call the workbench menu. So let's click on Log Maintenance, and we can see the details and information that we can input as you are creating a maintenance log. The summary, of course, is just going to be a brief summary of the maintenance that's being performed. And just as a note, when we talk about logging maintenance, this can really be anything. It could be maybe something's broken. Maybe you're just doing a cleaning. Maybe you're doing a firmware or software update if you have a console or any sort of computer that needs updates like that. It could just be preventative maintenance, a lamp change. So when we talk about logging maintenance, it really doesn't need to be something that is just broken or anything like that. It could be a variety of things. Let's say for this specific maintenance log that we're creating, this will be a unit that is broken. And so for the summary, we could say something like it has a blown tweeter or something like that. And then, of course, you would choose the procedure from the drop-down menu. You can add other procedures, which we're going to look at in a minute. You probably noticed that some of them I have on this list you might not have in your system, but I'll show you how you can add new maintenance procedures as we go along this webinar. The details might be additional, more specific details. You might say something like, came back from job, reference the job number, something like that. Just so we know exactly where it was, the circumstances in which it might have been damaged or something like that. We can also apply a cost to the maintenance log. So you would choose a currency and put a cost in there. Right now, let's actually move back a little bit and say that we have a blown tweeter and we don't have the ability to fix that in-house. So I'm going to say that this is an external repair. In this case, maybe I don't know what that repair cost is just yet, so I can leave this maintenance cost blank. And then when I do get the speaker back after it has been repaired, I can enter another maintenance log saying that it was repaired and this is how much it cost. The reporter is going to be, typically this would be the person who might have been out in the field that reported this as being damaged, because when I create this maintenance log, it is going to have a performed by field here, and this will show the currently logged in user who created the maintenance log. But the reporter, again, might be somebody that was out in the field, the person that put a note on this unit. So let's say that Chris was the one that was out on the job, and he noticed during the job that there was a blown tweeter on this speaker. So he put a note on the speaker, and we can put him in here as the reporter, since he was the person that reported the actual damage. And then you also have the option to mark it as out of commission. Now in this case, since there is a blown tweeter and we can't use this speaker, in fact we're going to be sending it out for an external repair, I would mark this OOC, or out of commission. Basically what that will do is just reduce your on-hand number. It will say, I still own this unit, it's still considered as part of my owned quantity, but it will reduce the on-hand quantity by 1, because out-of-commission units shouldn't be considered as units that can be used on jobs since they're out of commission. So if I check this box, when I go to create this maintenance log, it will next bring me to the out-of-commission record window so that I could create an out-of-commission record as well. But if I were to leave this unchecked, then it wouldn't mark it out of commission. And we'll show an example of that in a minute as we do maybe a software upgrade or just a cleaning or something like that. But in this case, I do want to mark it as out of commission. And the last thing you can do is add an image. So in this case, with a blown tweeter, I might not need to add an image just because it's hard to actually show what a blown tweeter looks like versus a regular, since it's all internal things that you're not really looking at visibly. But if there is damage like dents or scratches or things like that, then you can add an image to the maintenance log as a reference point to show exactly what that damage was. So I'm going to click Save to create this maintenance log. And remember, since I checked Mark as OOC, when I click Save, it's now going to pop up the Out of Commission record window, and I have to create that Out of Commission record as well. You'll notice that the reason carried over from the reason that I put in the maintenance log. So I'll just click Create. And now you can see I have both a maintenance log and an out of commission record for this item. And you can see that the location has gone to out of commission Salt Lake City. And if I go back to my serial numbers tab, first you'll notice on my quantity that it's been reduced by 1. And on my serial numbers tab, if I reload the 450 tab, you can see this is now out of commission, and it has the out of commission row, or column I should say, marked as yes. Now let's say that we sent this out for repair and then it came back. There's two things you can do. Number one, you can create another maintenance log to show that it was repaired, and I could put the cost into that. Or I could just simply come over and click Resolve the out of commission record. I like to keep a trail of every single thing that was done to the unit, so I'm going to create an additional or an extra maintenance log showing that it was repaired. So the first maintenance log is just showing what happened to it and that I'm sending it out for an external repair. The next maintenance log is going to be something like back from repair shop or back from Mackie or wherever we sent it. We can say that the procedure is that it's been repaired. We could provide some additional details. Sent into Mackie for repairs. It was repaired with no issue. And this is the place where I might actually type in what the cost was. So maybe with shipping and the cost that Mackie charged was maybe $40 or something like that. That might be a low estimate, but just for the sake of this example, let's just say the cost was $40. I might not have to put a reporter into this one because there wasn't necessarily somebody out in the field that's reporting that this has now been repaired, so I could just leave this blank, and then I could resolve the out of commission record. So I'll click Save. I now have another maintenance log entry, in the out of commission record has now been resolved. It still shows here as there was at one time an out of commission record, but you can see it's now resolved, and the general location is just back in the warehouse and not marked as out of commission. So that's just a very simple way that we can go through and create a maintenance log, both for the damage and for the repair. Let's look at a couple other examples. I don't want to just open the inventory item this time. I want to show how we can create a maintenance log as we're scanning items in. So let's think of an example really quick of something that we can use. Let's say maybe a microphone. Maybe when microphones come back in, you like to clean the capsule with some breath freshener or something like that, because people always put their mouth up on it and it can get kind of smelly. So instead of going to the serial numbers tab and opening one of the units and then logging maintenance, let's actually pretend that this is coming back from a job. And I don't know if I have any of these that actually are out on a job, so we'll just go to the free scan in page and just choose any one of these serial units. So let's go with 00015. So pretending this is out on a job and we're free scanning it back into our inventory. When I scan that unit, we have the option here that's called log damage. Now this might be a little bit misleading because that doesn't necessarily mean that you're logging damage on it. This could also mean that we're just doing any sort of maintenance procedure on it. And so let's just say, I don't know if I spelled that right, but clean the capsule. And I could just say the procedure is a cleaning. I don't know if I need any additional details here, since the summary is pretty descriptive. It's not necessarily costing me anything unless I want to include the cost of the rag and the cleaner, but that might just be in cents, so we're not really going to worry about that. Again, I probably don't need to put a reporter in here because this is just a standard cleaning procedure. And I'm not going to mark it as out of commission either because it's not out of commission. I'm just cleaning it. So this is just a really simple summary and procedure. Then I'll click Save. And now you can see that opens up the serial unit here and shows the procedure done. So that's just a very simple example of just keeping track of every time this has been cleaned, so that you don't have to go and actually find this unit and give it a smell test to know that if it's been cleaned. We can actually open the maintenance log and see that it came back from a job and was serviced on this date. So you could probably think of several examples of maintenance log and maintenance procedures that you might apply to some of your items. As you saw, some of my maintenance procedures were things like changing of a lamp, replacing a fader maybe on a mixing board, really just anything. It might be spot cleaning on drape or something like that. You can literally input and include as many procedures as you want in your system. Before we look at that, though, I just want to show you really quick how you can edit a maintenance log. When you're on the maintenance log page for any serial unit, you just click the little pencil icon, and that will pop up the log maintenance window, and you can make any changes here if needed. But now let's look at how we can add new maintenance procedures. This is going to be on the inventory menu. Then you'll click Maintenance Procedures. If you haven't added any, you probably only have maybe 4 or 5 of these, but you can see I've added quite a few in my system already. To add the new maintenance procedure, just come over to the right-hand menu and click New Maintenance Procedure. And this is where you will enter the information. So let's maybe just say this is spot cleaning for drape. We could enter a procedure number. This is really just more for your own internal tracking. As you can see, I haven't added procedure numbers to any of mine. But if you do want, if maybe you already have in place numbers for each procedure, you could enter something there, but that's not required. The type is going to be the resource type, and you're always just going to be using either the repair or the maintenance. In this case, I'm probably going to say this is maintenance if it's just a a spot cleaning. I could even add a description if I want. Most of mine, again, don't necessarily have descriptions, but a lot of times it's good to add a description here just in case you want to make these maintenance procedures a little bit more clear for other users of your system. Or say maybe in 3 or 4 years when half of your company isn't even there anymore and you have a bunch of new people in the company, as they're going through your system, you might want to add and include some of these additional descriptions just so that they know a little bit more what you are setting up. The completion time, again, is just an optional. You could say the estimated time this takes to complete and also the estimated cost. And so I might say that costs $10 on average. Or again, I could just leave that blank. Again, you'll notice that every maintenance procedure I've put in here, I didn't put a default cost. I just enter that cost as I'm actually logging maintenance on an item. So in fact, I'll leave this one as 0 as well. Click Add, and that gives me the new maintenance procedure. And so now if I go to log maintenance on any unit, then we should see, in fact, I'll probably have to close that and reopen it so that that new data I just created will be included on the menu. But if I click log maintenance, then you should see that new procedure. Again, you can add as many procedures as you want. I've seen some people that get very specific with their procedures. Some people might just have a really simple broken external repair, updates, in-house repair, and maybe preventative maintenance, and that's all. But some people might want to be as specific as possible, so you might have things like a lamp change. You might even get more specific and say projector lamp change versus a LECO light change or something like that. So you really can have as many of these procedures as you want. And of course, if you want to remove a procedure, you can just delete it by clicking the delete button or opening the procedure, and you should have the option to delete the maintenance procedure here. Let's look for a second at some of the options that we have to track and look at the maintenance that's been done on units in the past. In fact, let me open the one that we did maintenance on earlier, which was 00015. Of course, you could see the cost and the reporter and images on each maintenance log here. But you also might want some of that information on more of a general report that shows all of the maintenance that's been performed in your system. And we have a great report for that that's on the Reports menu. It's called the Maintenance Report. Now this one does have a start and end date that you can choose, but you can also leave that blank, and what it will do is just generate a report showing all maintenance that's been done in your system from the very beginning of your system's existence. Now if I want to view only maintenance that was done since the beginning of February till today, then I could choose those dates here. But let's leave those blank just so you can see what the report looks like, including all of the maintenance that's ever been done in this system. Now I've recently refreshed my system, so it's only about a month old, but you can see the service goes back only till the beginning of February. But you can see the model, the barcode, the service date, who performed it, the summary, what the procedure was, and the cost. And I haven't been adding costs to some of these test procedures that I put into my system, but you do see the one that we just created earlier of $40. And so that's really useful if you want to search just the last month. You can look and see how much have repairs and things like that cost me in the past month. And you can also look at certain items. So for example, I might come over here and look at 00075, and I might see a bunch of different logs for that specific unit. And that might tell me, well, I'm repairing this or doing some sort of maintenance on it almost every week. maybe that's a unit that we might want to look at a little bit closer, or maybe take it out of commission entirely by decommissioning it. And that brings us to the other options that we can do in terms of maintenance and taking things out of commission, and that would be decommissioning the item. It's a little bit different than taking it out of commission, because remember, when we put an item out of commission, all that does is just say it's still here in the warehouse, it's just marked out of commission, and it will reduce the on-hand number by 1, but not necessarily our allocated or owned quantity. Because we still own it, we expect it to come back into commission, so we still want to show that we have 16 of those that are in regular rotation. It's just the first number, the on-hand number, that goes down until we resolve that out of commission record. Now, if you have a unit that is probably damaged beyond repair and it's not going to come back into commission, I would recommend not just leaving it as out of commission, because again, that will leave your allocated quantity up. But if you want that allocated or second number to go down, we could come over to the edit serial number detail and actually mark this as decommissioned. Basically what this is saying is that we still have the unit in our warehouse, we still technically own it, but the unit as a whole is now decommissioned and it's not going to be going out on jobs. And so if we refresh our quantity tab, or my mistake, it will still show the allocated quantity as the total amount that you have in the warehouse, but it does take down the on-hand quantity by 1, and we can see that it is marked as decommissioned. And to me, that basically just means you're not going to be using that anymore, and maybe it's just sitting in your warehouse for parts, or maybe it's just sitting in your warehouse for an extra year for tax purposes, and then you can finally get rid of it. And then, once you do actually get rid of it or throw it away or sell it for parts, you can go back to the edit serial number detail. You can either mark it as sold and give that information there, or depending on the way that you do things in your company, you could just delete it altogether. I usually recommend, if you're going to delete it, add a note just to say this was decommissioned on, and then enter date, maybe give a reason. And you can still delete that serial number, but you still have a record of that serial number in your inventory manager. So I could open my inventory manager, search for all and include my serial results, but then also search for deleted by clicking this deleted checkbox. And then maybe let's just search specifically for, I think that was SM58 that I deleted. And you can see we still have a record of that 00015. It just now has a postfix of deleted on it. And I could still open that and review the notes and things like that. So that's usually what we recommend doing if you're going to delete the item. At least put a note on there just so that you have more of a trail of what happened to it. And then you can view that in the deleted information on the inventory manager. The last thing that we'll look at is a lot of people find it useful to set up an automated function that sends out a maintenance report. So we go to System Settings, click Automated Functions, and we're not going to go too deep into automated functions. We have another webinar on this subject if you want to watch that. But I'm basically just going to create an automated function for running the maintenance report. I could give an additional description saying exactly what it's doing. It's enabled yes, recurring yes, and the task provider is going to be run a custom report. Let's say that I want this to send weekly, starting today, and it's just going to send every Monday. The time that you have on the start date will be when it gets sent. So maybe we want it to send at about 7:30 or 8 a.m. just so it's on top of people's inbox every Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. And then the end date is just indefinite, so I won't put anything there. Once I click Create, it does open the function parameters, and this is where I can actually say I want to run the maintenance report. Choose the different options here. I can even add the users who will receive it. So let's say I want to receive it. Maybe Chris Stein wants to receive it. And then click Update. You'll notice since the maintenance report does have the start and end date, that pops up here. The only problem with this is that if I do a start and end date, then that's just how it's going to stay until I come into this automated function and change this. So if I don't come in and change the start and end date, then in May, if I haven't changed these dates, it's still only going to send me the maintenance report between these dates. So a lot of times you might just leave that blank so that it returns all results. And also in the near future, in a future update, we will be releasing some functionality that says when I have a report like this that might be dependent on dates, we're going to have a new field that says I want to send this automated function from now till 30 days in the future. So you would enter a code that says now plus 30 or something like that. And basically what that will do is when this runs, so even if this runs April 15th, 2016, it's going to say I'm going to take the date that is now plus 30 days and run the maintenance report with those dates. And so that's coming in the future. If you're watching this video on YouTube several months from now, this might already be functionality that's in place. But as of today, March 1st, that functionality is not in place. Look for it in the future, though, and we'll have some more webinars and descriptions of how that works. But for now, in this one, you can create it without dates. But once you've put in a date and tried to remove that date, it kind of gives you that required field option here. In my case, I might just say that I'm running it from then until well into the future. But when you first create it and you don't put dates, it does allow you to leave those dates blank. I think that's just a bug in the system where if I clear the dates and then try to update, it gives me the required field there. So just don't put any dates in there if you don't want there to be dates. And so that will send every Monday now at 7:30 a.m. to the distribution list. Really cool thing about creating maintenance logs, you can also do this from the iOS app that we have. I'm not going to demo that here just for time's sake, and I'm not set up to demo that, but we do have a good video on our YouTube page in the Flex Mobile section that shows how you can log maintenance from Flex Mobile. And that's really cool because you can use the camera on your device to actually take the image for the maintenance log. So if you're interested in that, want to learn how to create a maintenance log from the iOS app, check out our YouTube page where you can find that information. If you have any other questions or any ideas that you want to share, we always recommend going to our forum, forum.flexrentalsolutions.com, where you can discuss things like logging maintenance and other things with other Flex users. And if you're having any issues that are more technical in nature, then email support@flexrentalsolutions.com.